Nebraska.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My amendment is simple. It would bar the Department of Energy from spending taxpayer dollars on lab-grown meat. Under President Biden's radical climate agenda and regulatory regime, his Department of Energy has chosen to target our nation's food and beverage industry. Hard-working producers across the nation wake up every day and raise the highest quality livestock in the world, and they are already making significant investments in long-term sustainability. My home state of Nebraska leads the nation in beef and veal exports and is among the top producing states for hogs. Raising our nation's food is a way of life for many in my home state and across the nation. Instead of subverting the efforts of farmers and ranchers, the Department of Energy could invest in lowering energy costs, working to regain energy independence, unlocking energy exports, or any number of issues facing everyday Americans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. Does any member seek time in opposition?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Ohio seek recognition?
I would like to claim time in opposition, please.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Yes, regretfully, I rise in strong opposition to this amendment. The amendment purports to prohibit funding for what is termed lab-grown meat at the Department of Energy. Well, normally one would think of the Department of Agriculture as the place for that to occur. However, the actual amendment text prohibits funds, and I'm going to quote, to be used for or to advance the research, development, demonstration, processing, or promotion of alternative proteins. The term alternative proteins, without getting too deep into the scientific weeds, is very broad. And this would likely have an impact largely beyond the purported intent related to lab-grown meat. You probably have seen some of the scientific work and the medical work being done across our country, for example, in kidney transplantation. There is great crossover between some of the pure sciences and some of the applied sciences in trying to heal and trying to help people live longer and to replace damaged organs and so forth. So we need this science to progress. This amendment would restrict the work of the Department of Energy, which is a basic science department, and their Office of Science, which is the nation's largest supporter of basic research in the physical sciences. This amendment would impact work both for the Basic Energy Sciences Division and the Biological and Environmental Sciences Division. And sometimes these sciences cross over as we become smarter and more able to heal. And with supercomputing now, we're going to be moving into an age beyond, way beyond where the 20th century was. And we don't want to harm that research. The Basic Energy Sciences Division supports fundamental research to understand, predict, and ultimately control matter and energy at the electronic, atomic, and molecular levels in order to provide the foundations of new energy technologies, which of course we are all balls of energy in one way or another. And with supercomputing now, we are going so far beyond where science in the last century went in terms of understanding how we function and how our world functions. For example, within the basic energy sciences, they conduct biosciences and photosynthetic system studies to modify a protein to better understand its function. So you are deep into high science. This is not producing cattle for market. This is something very different. The mission of the Biological and Environmental Sciences Research Division is to support transformative science to achieve a predictive understanding of complex biological, earth, and environmental systems, even trying to understand the reaction inside the human body of the biochemical reactions of a nerve sheath which requires the help of supercomputers. Understanding proteins, which is a subdivision of understanding how all matter functions, is fundamental to understanding biology. So the unintended consequences of this amendment are widespread and could cripple our nation's ability to make breakthroughs in biology, bioenergy, decarbonization of the food industry, and human health. And I strongly urge my colleagues to vote against this amendment. We would love to work with the gentleman on trying to meet the challenge you are trying to solve, but this is not the way to do it. Thank you, and I yield back. And I reserve my time.
The gentleman reserves the balance of her time. The gentleman from Nebraska is recognized.
I appreciate the gentlewoman from Ohio sharing her concerns about my amendment. Every time a Nebraska farmer wakes up and faces the day, folks on that side of the aisle are looking to shut down confined animal feeding operations. They're looking to different ways to produce meat so that we can't produce what we do in Nebraska, which is the #1 beef state in the nation. There is no trust. There is no trust with the Biden administration and this Department of Energy that our way of life is going to be protected. This amendment should send a clear signal to everybody on the other side of the aisle that the producers that feed the world are ready to fight, to stand up for our industry, and to fight for livestock across this country. With that, ultimately, this amendment sends a clear message that it is inappropriate for the Department of Energy to spend taxpayer dollars on lab-grown meat. With that, I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlewoman from Ohio is recognized.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would just say I would be more than happy to come to those farmers' farms, sir. I serve on the Agricultural Appropriations Committee. I have farmers in my district that raise cattle. I want to find ways to reuse manure for soil complements and for energy. We have other farmers here in this chamber who care about this very much. Know that you have an ally on this side of the aisle. I just don't want to diminish the high science in the study of proteins that is so valuable to us as a country. But please know, at least this member doesn't want to do anything to hurt your industry. We only want to help you. We don't want imported meat. I'm very unhappy China owns Smithfields at this point. I want American producers to succeed. So just know you found a friend, not with this amendment, but with your desire to promote American agriculture in the animal industry. And I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlewoman yields. The gentleman from Nebraska is recognized.
I yield back, Mr. Chairman.